And welcome back. As we mentioned prior to the commercial break, we are about to get into a conversation with Assistant Commissioner of Police Chester Williams, who has been at the helm of Eastern Division South for quite a number of years, and he's on the verge, the final few days of his tenure as the officer commanding Eastern Division South. And so we're going to be discussing with him some of the achievements as well as some of the challenges that he has faced here in Belize City. That being said, good morning, ACP Williams.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
And good morning to your viewers across the country of Belize and those who may be listening abroad.
Okay, so we're going to start off with probably one of the hardest questions. How are you?
I don't think there is ever a hard question. There is always a way to answer any question. Well, I must give the good Lord thanks for health and strength. Every day He wakes me up with a vigor to go to work and to serve my people, and I'm grateful for that.
And I know that this has been quite a journey. It's been quite a ride at the division. Tell us some of the things that you'll take away the most, some of the lessons learned that you'll take away.
Well, to have been the commander of Eastern Division South with responsibility for Southside Belize City, I must say it had been a challenge, and it has also been a blessing in some regard, because the relationship that you build with people are lasting ones, and those are things that could never be taken away from you. So I am grateful for the opportunity to have served in that capacity, and one of the main things I take away is to never take nobody for granted, and never look at someone and think that they cannot change, as well as to never see someone in a certain position and think that that person will always be in that position. Anyone can rise above whatever situation they find themselves in. So those are some of the things I will take away as I leave Belize City.
Okay.
Would it be a fair assessment for someone who may have been following loosely your career path as a police officer to say that prior to going away to law school, they would have had a certain impression of you as an officer? When you returned from law school and you took over the lead at Eastern Division South, there appeared to have been a significant change in your approach to policing and your interaction with people. And I think that may have led to a warmer reception of you as the commander at that particular jurisdiction. Is that a fair assessment to make?
Yes, it is a fair assessment. I must say that prior to going to law school, for the most part, the public had a negative view about me, and I was the creator of that. It was a result of the style of policing I used to do. And when I went to law school, coming back from law school, you're more educated. You have been exposed more. You have time to really reflect on the things you used to do, and if you want to be true and honest to yourself, you will see that some of the things that you had done in the past were wrong. And if you come back having been educated with the same mentality, then I believe that you have wasted your money to have gone to study. That's how I look at it. And so when I came back, I decided that, the style of policing I used to bring to the table, that I will not be pursuing those anymore. And will be pursuing a more incorporative style of policing, whereby we incorporate the public in particular, as well as other agencies who may be able to assist in what we do as police officers. People will always welcome that which is good and will reject that which is bad. Only a fool will reject something good. And I always believe in that. And so my thing was to basically stamp out police brutality and to bring to the table a style of policing that is more community policing oriented. That way the public have a say in how we police them. They have an input. They'll be able to look at what we do, to come into the police station, to be more transparent per se with the public.
Yeah.
I know that it didn't went as well as I would have wanted to be, but I would say 80% of where I would want it to be. We were still a work in progress. There was more to be done, but my time has come to an end. And so I would only hope that my successor will try to continue some of the good things that we have going on in Southside Belize City. And so, going back to your question, it is a fair assessment, but one that I have accepted as something that was brought about by me and my style of policing.
I know you probably shared this with friends and colleagues, but tell us a little bit more about the reason why you decided to stay within the sector of policing.
Well, the truth is, when I came into the police department many years ago, I had no intention to remain in the police. But again, I had no option because education-wise, I was not there. And so I had to stick to what I had then, that is policing. And over the years, I've developed a joy for it. And I'm at a stage now where I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I have a hobby, right? I'm always happy. I never have a dull day. No matter what the situation may be, I try to always look at the bright side of things. And while, yes, I have gone to school and come back with a law degree, CLE and an attorney at law, I do not think that it would have been right for me to just leave the police department just because I have been educated to the extent that I have, but rather to continue to serve my people in my capacity as a police officer, and to see how I can use my level of education and training to be able to enhance the work of the police. You would know that as a police department, there is much more that needs to be done in terms of how we interact with the public. And I see myself as a people person. I don't hate anyone, regardless of what they may do to me. I will still see you, I'll hear you, I'll laugh and talk with you. Yes, I will guard the level of my friendship with you, but I will not hate you. To me, when you inhibit hate in your heart for someone, you only hurt yourself, not the person. That is my belief. So, policing is something that I enjoy doing. I am sure that I have the capacity to make a difference in the police department, in the position that I am. And so I want to be able to assist my colleagues and my country to see how we can improve the standard of policing within Belize.
Now, when I look, you'll forgive me, I'm someone that when certain people stand out, would want to look at where they've come from and where they're going. When I look at your career trajectory, you're one of the officers who stands out simply because you've come a long way in terms of, as you mentioned, your academic background coming into the department and now being able to progress not only in your career but insofar as going back to school and getting, in this case, a law degree. What words of encouragement would you have for fellow officers who are aspiring towards elevating themselves in the department but would also want a similar opportunity? It may not be for pursuit of law, it may be for some other area of study. What words of encouragement would you give to that person to try to make something better of themselves?
Well, the thing that I would like to say to them and for them to grasp most is to never be satisfied with what you have in terms of education. You could never be too educated. You know, people look at me and people say, oh, Chester, you're too educated to be in police. I don't think so. They could have a PhD or whatever, the highest degree, and you're a police officer and you can still serve. And never satisfy what you have. Always strive for excellence. Look at your weak spots and try to improve on it. And I must say there are a number of police officers out there who are pursuing the law degree. We have two who recently concluded Cave Hill in Barbados. That is PC Darwin Sambola and PC, forget the other fella name. But both of them are now preparing to make their way to Jamaica to do their CLE. We also have two police officers who are somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea doing the equivalent to the CLE. They concluded the University of Guyana with a LLB. And you know the difficulty to get into Norman Manley when you do not go to UWI. So they're looking for an avenue that they can get into Norman Manley. So they're doing the equivalent of the CLE somewhere. And then when they're through from there, then they go and do the 6 months at Norman Manley, which is a more easier way to get into Norman Manley. And I applaud those officers. You know, some of us, we sit down, we criticize others, and when we look at ourselves, we are no better than the others that we are criticizing. I remember when I was going to XJC Extension and I was being criticized by some of my peers. Oh, look at him, inspector, primary school graduate. There was an article written about me in the Reporter newspaper. You know, and I took it no way. I held my head high every day and I go to school because I knew the journey I was on. And lo and behold, when I went to Belmapan and I checked the file of the officers who were criticizing me, they had only a primary school leaving certificate too. So all in all, I was being criticized, hopefully that I lose hope, and I would have ended up just like them. But I rise above and continue pursuing my goal, and today, here is where I am. So I want to tell my fellow officers that the police department is a good place to be, but it is always good to be able to earn more education-wise. You never know what may happen tomorrow, that you may have to leave this organization and you need something that you can fall back on. I personally, I do not intend to be in the police department much longer. I should be departing in the probably not too distant future. So when I do leave, I know I have a law degree, I'm an attorney at law, I can go and practice law. So I have a retirement plan for me, right? So my fellow officers, that's what I want to say to them. You know, oftentimes police leave the organization and they go and be security guard or taxi drivers, and you know, it is not the proper thing. After having served the country for so many years, the best you can do for yourself is a security guard or a taxi driver. Come on, we need to do better than that.
And I'm glad you raised that as a point, because it's the same that applies, or it's the same that goes for BDF soldiers.
But
where you've served all these years as an officer on the front line of Belize's security forces, and then when you retire or when you leave, it's for something that we would consider a smaller position, so to speak.
I think the BDF are in a better position than the police though, because I admire the way how BDF do operates, because BDF do have a succession plan. Many of the officers in the BDF are sent on training, and they go and do courses that are equivalent to a degree, either associates or a bachelor's or a master's. Just have one of my friends, Mr. Eric Neal, who is the man that guards the GG, right? Very, very promising young officer. You know, and he recently completed his master's degree, you know, in strategic management, and I think he also went to the War College. So they are being prepared. When you look around in the public service, you will see retired BDF in higher position than retired police officers. Look at our own CEO, Mr. Lovell. Look at the CEO in the Ministry of Defense. Look at the CEO at the Ministry of NEMO. You know, Mr. Defour. You know, so you have General Gillett, who is now in Geneva. You know, Major Dorch, who is now with the UN. You know, so BDF do have good plans for the officers. So very rare will you find a BDF retire and go and do something less than what they were doing in the BDF. And I think that police need to do something like that to be able to empower their officers, you know, that when they leave this department that they can go and do something, you know, that is more better. But again, the BDF do retire at a younger age than the police.
Yeah.
The BDF retire at 42 and 45. I'm told now that that has been changed to the retirement age has not been extended. I am not too sure if it is 50 or and 48, I don't know. But be it as it may, it is still younger than how a police officer would retire. But I don't think that you must wait for retirement age to be able to go out back in the public and do something else. So
Definitely.
that is one thing I would hope that police would try to develop on, try to take a model from the BDF where it comes to dealing with our officers.
You know, ACP, I know that this position that you've held has come with its own challenges,
Yes.
and I know that with the public, they have their own perceptions of your job and how you must do it and the things that you aren't doing right. What are some of the misconceptions that you've heard regarding your position at Eastern South Division and the misconceptions with the general population of the South
Well,
Side?
the misconception is more with the police department. Some police officers still have this culture that policing is not about reaching out to the public. Policing is this whole culture of being aggressive
Yeah.
is one that will not go away easily. It took us decades, if not over a century, to get where we are. And it is something we'll not be able to change overnight. And many times police officers would say, you're being too soft on criminals. And, oh, they can't change.
Yeah.
My thing is, everybody can change. And embracing the concept of community policing does not mean that you are being too soft on criminals. It simply means that you are incorporating the public into what you do and giving the public that opportunity to be able to assist in policing their own communities. I've always said that when it comes to the public, no one knows the societal ills more than those persons who live in the society.
Yeah.
And we as police officers going into those communities, we are like ambassadors to those communities. We come there with sometimes or often little knowledge of what is going on. And if we do not embrace the public or consult the public, then how will we be able to deal with the issues that the society is experiencing? It's like when you go to a doctor, the doctor don't just write a prescription for you and tell you, oh, go and take this. The doctor will assess you first and get a diagnosis of what your problems are. And based on his assessment and diagnosis, then he prescribes something to treat you. It's the same things that apply in policing. We must first and foremost identify what are the societal problems. And this is done through a problem-solving model called the SARA. You scan for the problem, then you analyze the problem, you respond to the problem, and then you assess it, right? And we must apply that SARA principle in terms of how we do policing. That way we can be able to target the issue that the community do faces. And I think that what I have bring to the table along with my staff in Eastern Division South was or has been fully embraced by the public for the most part. The public do appreciate the style of policing because, you know, regardless of what a person is doing or who a person is, that person always have good in them. These young men that you see running the streets every day and are involved in crimes and these sort of things, you should see how they interact with their loved ones. And even when we interact with them, you could see that they do have good in them, but they have challenges too. So what are we supposed to do as a society? Are we supposed to vilify them so much so that they feel like they are nothing or nobody, and then they begin to act like they're nothing and nobody?
Yeah.
Then when they do that, then it affects all of us as a society. But if we try to guide them and show them a right path and try to help them, try to uplift them, they'll feel better about themselves, and you will get a more better feedback from them, and the way how they treat the public in a whole will also be different, because they will learn to respect themselves and to respect others. And that is what myself, Ms. Finnegan, and Brother Nuri try to bring to the table where these youths are concerned.
Speaking of that, I know that, as you mentioned, you were quite instrumental in putting together the recent truce. How has that been holding up, and what can we expect during this transition phase where you are going to be leaving the department, well, this branch of the department, if I may, and then your successor comes in within the next few weeks? What are we as citizens of Belize City to expect?
Well, your first question, the truth is going well. I remain in constant dialogue with the young men on a daily basis, and I try my best to help them when I can. There are people who do have families, and I've always said to them, our life matters, right? Including theirs. And we try to see how we could get them to respect their lives first, and then respect the lives of others. And I am grateful that they had given me the opportunity to interact with them and to see a different side of them that the public do not see. And so I will always be an advocate for them when they do good. And in that same process, when they do bad, I will be the first to let them know that they have done wrong, because that's what life is about. To answer your question about my transition, we must understand that trust is not something that is built overnight. It's just like when you meet a woman, and you court a woman, she will not just take your word and trust you, right? It will take some time before she begins to develop that level of trust and confidence in what you are saying to her. The same principle applies here. When I came, them having known my past as to how I used to operate, it was difficult for us to get where we are today. I had to really and truly work to convince them that, I am fair, I will treat them with respect and dignity. And that long process had gotten us to where we are today, where we now have that level of trust. I, for sure, is going to endorse Mr. Vidal to them. But it is a matter for Vidal then to try to develop that level of trust and confidence with them, because I honestly believe that the police need to find a way that they can work with these young men, and cannot expect to come in and be too aggressive with them, because it will send you right back to where you used to be. And you can attest to it, you're in the news, that we have come a long way in terms of where Belize City was up to mid-2015, before I came, and where it is today. We have progressed a lot. We have seen the gang activities reducing, and I am sure that it can continue to reduce. But the style of policing will have a lot to do with how that continues to go.
We're just about wrapping up our session, but I definitely know that you've had a lot of highlights within your time at the division, and if you could share maybe one or two that really has stand out, that'd be great.
Well, I really and truly enjoy the meet and greets.
Okay.
The meet and greets are very essential to what we do as police officers, because the public get to see me, not only on the TV, sitting behind a desk giving an interview, but they get to see me in person, and You know, it is a gratifying feeling when I go and do meet and greet and people look at me and say, "Oh, Mr. Williams, nice to meet you. Finally, I get to see you." You know, and sometimes they look at me and say, "Oh, you only smile though." I feel like you're a big man. But you know, it is a nice feeling as a commander to be out there with my officers walking the streets. You know, when you walk the streets, you pick up much more than when you drive.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it is something I would encourage police officers to do, and I really and truly hope it continues. Another highlight is the gang interventions. I really do enjoy them because I get to listen to the young men and know what their problems are, try my best to understand their problems, and advise them as to how they can overcome their issues. I enjoy the family days that we have, you know, with the young men. And when we fight crime, I always try to look at every angle. You know, we cannot just focus on one group. We must focus on everybody. And we have the South Cup that focuses on those who are already caught up. Then we have the mentorship program that focuses on the younger generation with a view to prevent them from going into gangs. And then we have the family day that incorporates everybody. You know, everybody comes together and have fun. And I really and truly enjoy the concept of the mentorship program because they are our future. Children between ages 8 and 17. And some of them are already vulnerable to becoming the next generation of gangs. And so to see that we are doing so much for them, to try and change their circumstance is very gratifying. And I want to say thank you to all those persons who volunteer their time as mentors. Miss Westby, Sasha Ely, Miss Diane Finnegan, Jim Scott from the Radisson, very, very vibrant man, you know. He brings life to a room where the kids are concerned. You know, the kids love him, you know, and there are others, you know, who really and truly have invested a lot in our young people. And I wish that more and more people will see the benefit of investing in our young people. If we want to see a better Belize, we must begin with investing in our young people. Try to see how we can steer them down that path that they can do right. You know, so those are some of the things that I will take away with me when I leave Belize City.
Definitely. Well, ACP, we want to thank you for being here, for sharing your experiences, and we wish you all the best in your new venture.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to have been here. And we won't be strangers. I'm sure that we will cross paths again in some way or the other. And to the people of Belize City, I want to say thank you for embracing me. Thank you for accepting and embracing the style of policing that myself and my management team brought to the table. And all is not lost. I will remain in contact with the people of Belize City to see how I can continue to use my influence to make Belize City safer for all. So it was a good journey, and I will now move to Belopan and take up my new responsibility. And as I normally do, I will do my best at that new post.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So we're going to take our next commercial break, and when we return, it's for a discussion with representatives of the Central Information Technology Office, CITO, and the idea of e-governance. So we're taking that commercial break and we'll be right back.